ago, a classmate showed me a video of Lois and Peter from Family Guy, engaged in, well, relations that certainly wouldn't be allowed on the air. However, while my friend was talking about how hot Lois was, I had to lie about who my attention was actually drawn to, which was the well-endowed Peter Griffin. Incidentally, this was a major awakening for me, and though a lot of people have called me weird for it, my infatuation with Peter Griffin stuck around as I got older and more experienced. Even recently, as I've started going on Grindr to find hookups, I've been secretly looking for my favorite fat man, or at least the man who could come as close as possible to the likes of Peter Griffin. Eventually, I did one day. His name wasn't Peter, but that's the only name I called him. He looked like Peter in his size and the way he dressed, with the puffy curves of his face and his cute little glasses. We matched and started texting. Then we video called, and I was filled with joy when I found out he also sounded just like Peter Griffin. He didn't seem to mind my fantasy either, which made me feel even better about setting up a date with him. After a lot of flirting, Peter suggested we meet up at a hotel, have some drinks, and then let whatever happens happen. I agreed, of course, and we decided to meet the very next night. Pulling up to the hotel, however, I was starting to get nervous. It wasn't the worst place I've hooked up at, but it was far from the nicest. I went up to the door Peter said he was staying in, and when the door opened, I was shocked at how much he looked exactly like Peter Griffin. I hadn't asked him to do anything extra for my fantasy, but it seemed like he'd really gone the extra mile. Unfortunately, there was something else about him, something he seemed to be hiding, this dark look in his eyes. It felt so off-putting, and it made the whole situation feel way sketchier. I hesitated, but I still went inside with him, wanting to push past my inhibitions and get what I'd wanted for so long. Peter and I started to talk, and I sat down in the chair, not quite ready to get on the bed. I wanted time to get immersed, or at least relaxed, although the conversation with Peter was anything but comforting. You seem nervous. What's wrong? Oh, nothing. Just feeling a bit tense. Relax, it's okay to be tight, if you know what I mean. Sorry, grinded joke. Yeah, anyway, why don't I pour you a drink? Actually, I think I'm good. I don't want any Dahmer stuff to happen. That's not what you were saying last night. What made you think I'm some sort of monster all of a sudden? Nothing. It's just, I don't know. Then drink! Don't chicken out now, you sourpuss. Stop being a party pooper and let me get in your pooper after you take a drink. Okay. What do you have? After convincing me to drink, Peter pulled out a bottle of nice liquor, but then he turned around to pour out the drinks on the nightstand. He came back a moment later and handed me one of the two glasses he had, and we started to drink while continuing to talk. But instead of feeling relaxed, I suddenly started to feel like my mind was being pulled out of my body. I was struggling to maintain balance while just sitting up, so I tried getting to my feet to run out the door. But then Peter grabbed me and threw me on the bed. He had my shirt off in seconds as I fought back against him, feeling myself getting weaker and weaker by the second. He was right on top of me, and with his size, I realized there was no way I could win against him directly. While he kept undressing me, I stopped moving. Then he stepped away for a few seconds to take his clothes off or to grab God knows what. I took that opportunity to gather every ounce of strength I had left and stand up. I slammed into the door before ripping it open and stumbling out into the hall. I ran as fast as I could, screaming, knocking into every single wall. I could hear Peter yelling behind me, but then he disappeared. I made it all the way to reception before collapsing. I couldn't fight it anymore, but I'd done enough to save myself. I woke up in a hospital where I was questioned by cops as soon as I was coherent enough to answer questions. I told them everything that happened in the hotel room between me and Peter, and it was enough to get him arrested. It turns out I wasn't the only one of his victims either. There were 5 others, most of whom weren't as lucky as me. I'm glad to know that he won't be able to hurt anyone else. All I know is that the character which was once in my dreams is now only in my nightmares. Almost every night, I'm back in that hotel room, going through the entire ordeal all over again. The story was inspired by a horrific incident regarding a man who used a gay dating app to find victims he could roofie and SA. The suspect we are referring to is Sam Ashley, 30, who contacted men on Grindr before meeting them in Portsmouth. Ashley would then drug them without their knowledge and attack once they were left in a stupefied state. He was found guilty of 4 SA cases, 4 charges of administering a substance with intent, and 2 counts of attempted SA. Ashley had allegedly denied all charges. He met 3 of his victims on Grindr and 1 at a rugby club. 3 of the men he SA'd had their drinks spiked, while another thought he was being offered painkiller tablets for a headache. She added Ashley had been convicted thanks to expert evidence.